Do you ever wonder what happened to your friends from high school? I mean, you were so close. You laughed together, you cried together, you shared some of the best years of your lives together. And yet, somehow through life, you just lost touch. Now it's time to relive those moments once again. Introducing the podcast that takes you back in time to the place where it all began. This is Class Reunion. We're bringing you all the gossip, secrets, and scandals from your high school days that you won't want to miss. Join us as we catch up with old classmates and dive into the wildest stories from our high school days. From those legendary parties to the infamous cliques, we're spilling all the tea on who's who and what really went down. So grab a seat, turn your volume up, and get ready for a trip down memory lane. Class Reunion, the podcast that reunites us all. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Class Reunion. Today, I have a mystery guest, another new segment I plan on having on Class Reunion, where I have somebody from outside of Groves High School, and I am thrilled to invite her on. And please welcome April Childers to the show.
Hi, everybody.
So I want to first say happy birthday.
Thank you.
I mean, it was ironic, and we'll get to why this whole thing organically came about. But then I find out, first of all, I was in love finding her because there's so much she has to offer. It was like this gold mine of a secret guest. And then I look on Facebook and everyone's wishing her happy birthday today. And I thought, wow, this person's allowing time out of her birthday to be on my podcast. So it was a beautiful surprise. So happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
You're going to lunch. Anything else special planned?
Not really. My husband's already given me he gave me
oh, that's gorgeous. Is that like an amethyst?
An amethyst, yes.
Oh.
February birthstone, yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And also he gave me a mat for my desk that, because I like to stand. As we get a little older, it hurts to sit for so long. So
correct.
I'm kind of like arranging my desk where I can stand sometimes, but then my feet hurt because I'm on a concrete floor. I'm in the basement.
I so get it.
So he gave me one of those mats that I can stand on.
Nice.
So, yes.
Kind of like, are you talking about like those kitchen mats where they're that spongy? Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. So that, I'm just going to go in and kind of goof off and meet my friend for lunch and come back here. We're probably going to go out. I've been taking golf lessons. So we're probably going to hit some balls in the front yard. And
you're based in Tennessee though, correct?
I am. I'm in Middle Tennessee.
So how is the weather? So you can...
Today is gorgeous.
Okay.
It is supposed to be in the 60s, low 60s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm from Michigan, so I remember I shouldn't be like shocked. I'm in Florida now, so to me, golfing in your weather seems crazy. But in Michigan, we wore shorts until we couldn't, or sometimes we still did. So I can appreciate it. My secret retirement getaway is Tennessee.
Oh.
You'd think it would be Florida because I'm here, but because I'm from Michigan, I have that yin yang need for mountains. And so I've been, and I'm not going to say it right. Sevierville. It's by Gatlinburg.
Oh, Sevierville.
Well, there you go.
Tennessee has like a very strange enunciation for a lot of names.
Yes.
Like, I'm a Louisiana girl.
Okay.
And it's Lafayette, but here it's Lafayette. They call it Milan, but it's spelled the same as Milan.
And we're Milan. There's a place in Michigan. That's interesting.
Yeah, they have very interesting. It took a while, and I still mispronounce things from time to time.
Well, same here in Florida. So when I say like Steenhatchee, that's wrong. There's a lot of like Indian rivers all through Florida. I used to say Kissimmee forever outside of Orlando, and it's Kissimmee. I mean, same thing. You can tell who's a local and who's not just by pronunciations.
Yeah. Whereabouts in Florida are you?
I'm in Naples now.
Okay.
And I moved here 17 years ago, and talk about resilience and things like that, and having to deal with situations. When 2008 and 2009 happened,
Michigan kind of started first because we were that big automotive community.
Yeah.
And I worked for a company out of Naples. It was a software company. And I was in management at the time. They cut our salary 50%. Then I had to lay off the sales team that I did have. Then I was watching them subsequently get laid off. So they would get rehired. But you know that saying, last one in, first one out.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just really streamlining in Michigan before everyone else. So the president of the company, which was ironically in Naples, said, I know you have family down in Florida. Our economy is great. Why don't you move? So I did. And I came down with my son 17 years ago. I pulled the U-Haul into the driveway and then they cut staff. I remember pulling in and seeing that Price Waterhouse laid off 2,600 people in downtown Tampa. And I was like, oh. So, but anyway, it was nice. I did come down, to be with family. So it was a blessing in disguise. But yeah, that's what brought me here. And I was in downtown Tampa, huge sports nut. So I was part of the hockey community right downtown with the Lightning. And I watched the Super Bowl win with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now I'm having lunch at 4 or dinner at 4:00 in Naples. So I discovered I can't hang with the young folks in downtown Tampa. So you were in Louisiana, born and raised?
Yes.
Like in the New Orleans area or?
Actually, a very small town called Starks, Louisiana.
Okay.
Close to the Texas state line. It was between Lake Charles and Texas.
Oh, yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I did live in, later on, I lived in Baton Rouge before I went in the military.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you have some great recipes, seafood recipes, I'm sure.
I love to cook.
I'm going to have some of those. So did you go straight to, we talked about high school reunion that I'm going through and planning. And I mentioned we had like 300 students. I would imagine you had a smaller class.
Well, the town I grew up in, our largest graduating class was 24.
Your reunions are a lot easier to plan.
Well, I moved to Texas later on when I was about 15. And that was like a culture shock because our class was huge. It was 200 or 300. I don't even know how many people there were.
Yeah.
But those weren't the people I grew up with. So I never really, the first year I went, I kind of kept to myself. I didn't really know anybody. The next year I came back, they're like, what are you doing back here? I said, well, what do you mean? Because I was a freshman when I started. They thought I was a senior. They were shocked when I came back the next year. Other students, So
do you just look sophisticated or what?
It was funny when I was younger.
Funny.
When I was younger, I looked older. Now that I'm older, I hope I look younger.
Yes. No, you look fantastic.
Thank you.
So how did you go to the military? Typically it's, someone in the family, someone in the furniture business that's been a part of it or?
It really, two of my brothers were in the military, but it was one of those where that didn't
play a part in your decision.
Yeah, it didn't really play a part. It was one of those things I thought about when I was in high school. I looked at it. I looked at the Army. I went and took an ASVAB, but for some reason, I never made it in. And then throughout the years, it was like, I looked at it again, and then like the Gulf War started. And then I was like, oh, I don't know. But the news kept saying, this isn't going to be long. And
right.
So, but then I was in Louisiana at that point, and they were like, look, we're shipping out reservists. We're kind of busy. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, get back to me. Well, they never got back to me. I was 28 before I actually went in.
You're kidding.
No. It was one of those where it's like,
good for you.
If I'm ever going to do this.
Yeah.
Now's the time. I need to do it before I get any older. And at that point, I had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house before I left for boot camp, I had can't call it a yard sale. You can't call it a garage sale. It was a house sale. I opened the door and I said, if you see it, it is for sale.
Wow.
I Everything that was like sentimental that I wanted to keep, I put in the bathroom. I taped it up, where people couldn't get in it, and everything else was for sale.
That's amazing. That's a big life change. So I can appreciate being 28. Who wouldn't want to be 28? But boot camp years, right? That's on the, how did you feel with all of the 18-year-olds coming through, or whatever the early age is that they typically go through boot camp? I mean, round of applause. That's amazing.
The youngest girl was 17.
Okay.
And there was one girl that was older than I was. She was 32, 34, something like that. And it's funny, you go through all of this and you get there. And I didn't even think about what time of year I was going. I went in near the end of December.
Okay.
I joined like December 18th, 19th.
Yeah.
So they don't mention that nothing happens in boot camp during that time. I could have really stayed home through the holidays because everybody takes leave and they're gone. So you're sitting there
making your bed every day and no one's there to even notice.
Yeah, I'll never forget. It was Christmas Eve and we're sitting around and you can hear it start, the sniffles. And it goes all the way around. And some of these little girls, it was their first time away from home.
Right. You had been a homeowner and experienced a little life. Oh.
Yeah. So the hardest part for me was the lack of privacy and the lack of not having any time alone. So I would volunteer we had to scrub like the ladder wells.
Right.
And you had to get out there with a scrub brush and scrub them. And we had a back stairwell and I would volunteer to scrub the back stairwell, our portion, because that was my only quiet time.
Oh, true. Okay.
And people would come by and they're like, "Did you get in trouble?" I'm like, "No,
right.
This is my quiet time. Go away."
It's probably that way now. Maybe you probably feel like I want to do something quiet and on my own to clean, to have your own space today, I bet.
I am very much, I love my husband and we're both retired and he is happily retired. We did have a business when we first retired. We sold it and every day he finds something new to do. We have 93 acres. We live out in the country. So he is constantly doing something. Oh, it's beautiful. So I did that for a little while and I got a little restless. But I am very much like sometimes he'll go up and see his family up in Missouri and he'll be like, "You want to come?" "No, not really. No, I'm good."
Yeah.
So, but I love that time alone.
Yes. Which we should explore because I think the grass is always greener, right? And I talk about that when I was divorced. Friends were like, "Oh, your life must be great because you have time alone." And then I could say the opposite, where I envied that family environment. We all really need a balance of both.
Yes.
You're with a roommate for the rest of your life and you're supposed to still be attracted to one another. It's just, there's all these, things with it that come and, we should all just support each other's decisions because we all want a little bit of both, Yes. Were you on a fleet or a submarine or?
I did 4 ships, 1 boat. One of the ships was a subtender.
Okay. Because I commend you because I see a lot of the videos today when there's storms and things and people sliding around and I'm like, you're in a tube and you're crawling up on top of each other to sleep. It would be so claustrophobic that I commend those that want to be. I have a classmate that I talked to about this. It's like, that's an environment I don't know if I would do well in because it's confining.
Yeah. It's one of those, it's kind of like, we were talking about that time alone.
Yeah.
Where my first ship, and you kind of get used to it. You get into a routine. And especially when you're underway, when you're on deployment, you get to the point where all of a sudden you realize I haven't been outside for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh,
but at least on a surface ship, you can walk outside. Like my first ship, when we went underway, every evening after dinner, I would take my book, I'd walk around the weather decks and I would find me, a ladder off to the side or someplace quiet. And I would sit and read, watch the sunset.
Oh,
And,
nice.
yeah, that was kind of like my, no one else is around.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
You
So
met your husband.
I did meet my husband. It was funny because he was one of my instructors when you finish boot camp and then you go into, they call it an A school. So you
Okay.
learn your trade. He was one of my instructors.
Is that allowed?
He just got married and I just got married.
Oh.
So we knew each other.
Okay.
But we didn't know each other.
Right. Right.
So my very first duty station was Naples, Italy. So it's a rough life. I'm just telling you. He came about 6 months later. So we worked together for 2 years, got to really know each other. I came back to the States. In the meantime, I got separated, got divorced. And then when I came back, he came on board my ship. Certain people come on board and if you can't fix something, they are like the experts.
Okay.
So they come in and fix stuff. He came on the ship. We met back up. He was still married. I was not. But I knew his wife too, because she was also an instructor at the school.
Okay. This is scandalous.
Yeah.
I'm liking this story. Yeah.
But, over the course of time, he called me one day and, they would have parties. They would invite me if they went out to sea or something. I would go take care of the cats and, we were friends.
Yes.
Well, one day he called me and he said, I left. I won't say her name.
Yeah.
But I said, well, where'd you leave her? He's like, no, because, they had their issues.
Right.
And I knew that. And I had similar issues with my ex-husband. So him and I kind of
bonded over that.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, we went and had lunch one day after they split up and just never really left each other.
Aw. You probably meant to be. And I think it's common I'm making an assumption, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it is common to marry young when you're going into the military, and oftentimes, good or bad, that could be, too early in your life to make those lifelong decisions. And so I would imagine that divorce is sort of common.
Divorce. Yeah. I don't know, statistics, but I know there's a lot of divorce in the military. Not everyone is cut out for that type of lifestyle because, it's hard when and we were both in this situation when we were together where one person went on deployment, the other person stayed back, and it's definitely harder to be the person left at home than it is to be the person gone.
Yes. So you brought up something I said all the time when I was married, regardless of military, right? We were both two people that traveled in our job, and I was a miserable person when he was gone because I'm in an everyday situation. It's routine. And he would come home and want to decompress because he had been traveling all week. And I was like, let's have some together time, and vice versa. I would be gone just wanting to come home, do my laundry. And he's like, well, you ready to go out to dinner? And I'm thinking, no, I've been out to dinner all week long. You're so right that the person who's left behind, and your mind goes.
Yes.
Right. You can think of all worst case scenarios because you've got nothing better to do. Right. Did you have children together?
No.
Or in your other marriages? Okay.
No,
So
he has 2 daughters.
Okay.
From a previous marriage. And,
Okay.
I always say that I had kids the easy way. I said I do. And I had 2 grown daughters and a granddaughter at the time.
Oh,
and
nice.
Now we have 2 granddaughters. So
yeah. Are they close by you that you can see
they're
them?
from Missouri. Matter of
Okay.
fact, we're going up there this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
I'm not there yet, but I would imagine, my friends who have grandchildren are just, it's that thing everyone tells you. It's this beautiful relationship that you get to have again outside of being a parent, but it's not full time.
and it's funny because I tell our oldest daughter's the one with the kids. Our youngest, they have 4 dogs. So that's their kids.
Yes.
But I tell our oldest daughter, I said, being a grandparent is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be the one that spoil them and do things. And you need to lay off spoiling them because we're being shortchanged.
Now, real quick, and then I want to get to where you are today. So did you actually, we talked about this, serving in the military, and thank you for your service. Were you ever in a situation where it was a high risk, where you were in a territory you had to be careful or something like that? Or
I was on the Army and Navy did a project together, and it was a catamaran. It was a high-speed catamaran. And when the Second War kicked off, we were over there and in the Gulf, and we worked with some special people who needed to go places. And we sat off the coast of Qasr. They're very protective of like communications during that time. So a lot of times we can't email out, but like our captain would download news reports and it would say, there's, Qasr is secure. There's no fighting anymore. And we could sit off the coast at night and we could see the firefights, and I'm like, it doesn't look very secure to me.
I don't need an email to know that.
Yeah. But it was funny because we went up a back river to get there because we were a catamaran. We had such a shallow draft. The main river hadn't been cleared. The minesweepers hadn't been through there, and they were known in that area for laying mines. We couldn't go up the main river. So we went up a back river, and we got to a point where there was a bridge, and we had to wait for low tide to go under the bridge. And then we had to get on the other side of the bridge and wait for high tide to get over a sandbar. So we're like sitting there in the river, like,
sitting ducks.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was probably the scariest part of the whole thing, as far as the process of getting there, and
you're beholden to Mother Nature, basically. Yeah.
Well, a little higher than Mother Nature.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you sometimes look at civilians then? Because I wonder this myself, and I don't want to go down a negative rabbit hole, but we all talk about, the state of the country. Do you sometimes look at people who are standing in Starbucks, like a big, huge line waiting for their lattes, and be like, you just don't know what's out there? Yeah. Yeah. I would think it's a conflict of like, I'm protecting you, but you're in another world.
Sometimes it's, I'm protecting you, so just be quiet and let us do what we need to do. And don't judge. Don't talk about stuff you don't know anything about.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. And we'll stop there.
Yeah. No, but again, thank you not only for your service, for being, a badass female. I think that's incredible. And speaking of that, part of the draw to you was this pivot you made, which is different subject names and a podcast. It doesn't matter. We're both in this era of our life, reinventing ourselves, doing something that's social media driven, that's outside of what we normally have done. And I just found, as I started to dig deeper in wanting to have you on, I was like, let's talk about this podcast because you just started it. And it's so empowering. And it's exactly how I'm feeling at the moment. And know that there's other women feeling the same way, because we are at that mode in our life where kids or no kids, it doesn't matter. We're just kind of reevaluating that second half of life. And how do you want to make the most of it? I just love what you're doing. So What is Her Superpower just launched February 1st. You've had some fantastic guests right up my alley of talking about how they've overcome obstacles and still created a powerful roadmap for themselves. Mm-hmm. And so I'd love to, on your birthday, give you some flowers and let you shine on sharing what you're doing. I've downloaded your book on Gen X women and ways to empower, and I'll leave all that information when we launch this. But how did that come about? And I commend you. And it's kismet that we met, because what you're doing is so wonderful. And I want to share it with everyone, all the listeners.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, What's Her Superpower has been such a divine intervention there. And we talked about this a few minutes ago, was that I created a one pager. A friend of mine showed me hers, and it's just, it's a brief, like, who I am, what. So there's podcast groups out there. So those of you who are sitting there thinking, I don't know anything about podcasting, there's tons of,
How we
groups
met
out there. Yeah. That, so I posted my one pager in a couple of groups and said, hey, I'm going to launch my podcast. Actually, it was supposed to be today on my birthday, but, and I'm looking for female guests who have a story to tell. Either business owners, they're in ministry, they're nonprofits, and I have a little bit of everything in there. And you're in the right place when God brings you the people that you're supposed to come in contact with. And, something you touched on earlier was, I haven't even interviewed the people that I know. And that's what really motivated me to start this, because I know so many incredible women that have such great messages to share with the world. I was like, we need to get these women out there. And I haven't even,
We're the opposite. I started with, my friend group for trying to highlight my classmates, and then you got the outside. So it's cool to pause for a moment and switch, and I can't wait to see who you have on that you're friends with, because that'll be a totally different conversation. And I guarantee you, April, you will undercover something that you didn't even know.
Oh, yeah.
That's the beauty of what I love, is at this age, when we're communicating and we're talking about childhood or whatever, no one came out unscathed or has some type of story to share, which really makes them who they are. And you have a tagline that I think is absolutely incredible, because it is for all people our age trying to do. You said, ignite your dreams one story at a time. And that is like a way for you to just highlight your guests every week. I love that. So what have you learned? What was your mission, and what have you uncovered that's been already a big surprise for you?
Just the stories of resilience that women have. And, I've always known that everything we've been through in our lives has developed us to the point we are at right now.
Right.
And what makes us so powerful is what we've survived. Some people may say, oh, that's being a tad dramatic. Whatever. Okay. You don't know what people have been through,
right.
And to hear the stories that come from these women, you're like, one guest, we were talking, and I was like, she's like, I know, I had the same reaction you just had.
It's true.
Yeah.
That saying, fight or flight mode, I think a lot of us, and I won't put an age on it, but I would say, between 30 and 40, a lot's happening.
Yeah.
And I think we are in that fight or flight mode, and we're just taking on whatever we can, and we're keep moving. And I don't know what we're moving towards, but we feel like we're always supposed to, be this bricklayer and create our own path. And guess what? You should really take the road untraveled. But, at that time, we're so pressured in that age bracket to have a story that's generic according to everybody else. And that's not what life throws at you.
Yeah.
It's just not. And a lot of times we pivot in silence.
And it's funny because, we've gone from our whatever our family looked like. We went from that. A lot of cases we got married. We started having our own family. And then all of a sudden the kids go on and they have their own life. And you're looking around and you're like, what do I do now?
You still have something to offer and give.
Yeah.
And it's unleashing that passion that you had probably years past. And that's where it resonated, because, and I don't mean to bring it back to myself, but when I saw what you did and I downloaded your book, if you look in my high school yearbook, behind me, it says psychology. under what I wanted to do. And I never, ever pursued it. And it has been gnawing at me all of these years because I used to say, oh my gosh, you're a cheerleader. That's not anything scientific or road scholar. But it was in my DNA to listen to people's stories, to help encourage, empower. And I'm not necessarily doing that now, but I'm certainly in touch with people's story and identifying and allowing them to have a voice. So for me, it is full circle where that little passion in the back has been there, and to push people out and help them shine is so fulfilling to me, and I feel like your goal of your podcast is to explore and help women find that, whatever that is, whatever that secret passion was in the background, how to unleash it this stage in life, because we do the negative noises. I'm too old to learn that, or it's too late, or I can't, teach a dog new tricks. Mm-hmm. So how do you meet with women on that level and guide them that all things are possible?
And that's what, right now, what I'm doing is eventually at some point, I would like to have courses where they can go through at their own pace. But right now, I really want to start with one-on-one coaching, because I think it's so important, because you're different than I am.
Correct.
Somebody else is different. We have different histories. We have different stories. We have, and all of that comes with baggage, and, we've heard the term baggage all of our lives.
Right. That's why Spirit Airlines started to charge for it. Yeah.
Everybody's got it.
They're like, ding, ding, ding. We're going to start charging for that baggage. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's kind of like trauma,
Yes.
A friend of mine does, she works with first responders a lot, and their trauma is a lot more evident. But
correct.
None of us get out of our lives without some kind of trauma. And it could be something as simple as a comment that maybe a parent or a teacher said to you, and you've got that in your head, but I want women to know that it's not too late. It's never too late. As long as you have breath in your lungs and your eyes open every morning, then it is not too late for you to find your passion and find your purpose. And, because somebody is out there waiting for you, just you, because you're not going to say it the same way that somebody else is going to say it. You might be doing the same thing, but you're not going to say it, and you're not going to relate to them in the same way that somebody else is. And they're waiting for you because they need what you know, and you can help them.
April, you just gave yourself a birthday gift. I mean, that was well said. It's very, very true. Someone's waiting to hear your story and say, and that's the best feeling when you do reach out and you're not sure it's going to connect, and somebody sends a DM to you and says, my gosh, this and this and this and this. And that's all it takes. That when people say it's, only one person in the room, it is true. You feel so validated in doing what you're doing if it just resonates with one person, because we are the silent generation, as they say. And we didn't have the terms of how to label some of the trauma or understand why those decisions happened in our life. I always say the toolbox is very empty. And we can talk about the younger generation, but what I admire about them, and I do learn from them, is they use their voice. They learn and download, and they know the term narcissist, and they know this, and they know their boundary setting. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but they are so much more ahead of creating coping skills and turning course. Career-wise, whatever, we can say, they never want to stay in a job and they quit all the time. Okay, but who's to say staying in software for 23 years was the wisest thing I ever did? I felt threatened to do anything other than that. There's that golden handcuffs. We're in corporate America. You have benefits. How dare you? You're a single mom. You have all this noise around you telling you can't be what you want to be, because traditionally we had to abide by rules. And that's why I kind of like learning from the younger people, because they have, all of that. So who's teaching us?
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
And others, right?
Yeah. And I think getting older comes with a lot of freedom. Mm-hmm. I have discovered, but it also comes with a lot. I know since I've retired from the military, I've spent a lot of time figuring out who April is. It is not for the weak. If you feel like you're missing something and you feel like, you need to find your purpose or your whatever, because people have said that for years. Oh, my purpose.
Right.
What's
your niche? Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean a purpose? I have a job. That's my purpose right now is to pay the bills.
Right.
So, but as you get older, you don't. So what if I can't remember something when I'm making a video or a reel or something? It's like, what was the name of that thing? Yeah, I don't remember. I'll tell you later. Who cares? If you don't like me, don't watch me.
Right.
So there is a lot of freedom that comes with that, but there's still, we all have those inner voices, and one thing that I want everyone to know is, and to hear, is that if you would not say something to a child or to your best friend, then don't say it to yourself.
I know that is so hard. That is an exercise, a daily exercise.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because what we tell ourselves, and you know what, your mind does not know whether you're nervous, you're scared, or you're excited. Mm-hmm. So why don't we change that? Instead of I'm scared to do that, I'm so excited about that. Because when I started my podcast, I was nervous. I was scared.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially since we didn't grow up in this world. I mean, everybody's got the younger generation, this is how they communicate now. Yes. But for us, it's so different. And I love that you said that, because I like doing it at this age. Uh-huh. I do admire the younger people for doing it, but they do worry about it being perfect.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Yeah. I'm not going to do a get ready with me and show you my makeup routine or anything like that. that ship has sailed. Yes.
But it's funny. I get a great reaction. Like, I do videos in the morning when I'm out walking with my dog. I have no makeup on. Right. I have, half the time, well, it's been cold, so I've got my winter hat on, my beanie, and, I had a friend reach out. She called me. She's like, your skin looks really dry in your videos in the morning. Are you using moisturizer? I'm like, yes, I'm using moisturizer. I gotta go. I can't talk to you.
Well, and that's so funny. The words are what you're accurate about. Then I'm gonna let you go have a wonderful lunch with your friend. But I learned, there's that book out, and Rachel Hollis, I know, is a very controversial figure, but she wrote a book, Girl Stop Apologizing. And by reading that, it took me forever to stop saying, I'm sorry. Do you know how many times I say I'm sorry? I'm in the grocery store and my cart goes around the corner and, I have the right of way. It doesn't even matter. And someone will bump into me and I'm sorry. I do that all the time. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to a girlfriend of mine. Hello, Pat. And I said, to just start with, excuse me, has been liberating. I'm embarrassed to say that, but it's true. If you teach yourself to say, excuse me, instead of I'm sorry, we are apologizing for just about everything.
Yeah.
And women typically. And I don't, just that slight change of how we speak to others and ourselves. I kind of walk down the aisle and I'm like, I didn't apologize. I'm proud of myself because it's just, I didn't realize if you had like a tip jar of how many times you have swear word or something like that, or a negative thought, I'd be so rich right now because I'm always apologizing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where that came from, but I don't know if you grew up that way. Maybe the military changed that, but women say I'm sorry about everything.
I don't remember having that growing up, and maybe maybe I did, and the military got it out of me.
Probably.
But yeah, because you toughen up.
Yes.
And that was part of my transition also was, who is this person that's been in the military for 20 years? And is that the real me?
Yeah, you've had other things to unpack, which is so interesting. And
Yeah.
I'd love to have you on again and explore that because I admire the discipline and I look up to you in what you did. And then you must feel like, yeah, but I have a lot to unravel from that.
It's been a process.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely, because it's like, in the military, you're not spontaneous.
Mm-mm.
And I have discovered that I'm a very spontaneous person. I love that. And my husband is not a spontaneous person. He does not love that.
That's interesting that you found that out because it doesn't fit in military life.
No.
You've been out for how many years?
Oh, this will be 10 years.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
December. So I've still got a ways to go, but yeah, 10 years. I retired in 2014.
So before the podcast, what were you doing over those 10 years?
Oh, it's been a process.
Probably a part two, but
yeah, that might be a part two, but
yeah.
it was definitely, we had a convenience store when we first retired. It wasn't something I ever wanted. My husband thought that was going to be a good idea. And the good thing about it is that we live in a small community. So we were able to meet a lot of people, but we had a close friend of ours pass away and it was kind of like, what are we doing? We don't need to be doing this. Life's too short.
Yeah.
So we sold the store. And from there, I took quilting classes. I took gardening classes. I got my real estate license.
I did too.
I bought some land and worked with a builder, and that was like an investment, So that was the first house. That's the only house I sold as a real estate agent.
That's another thing that's not for the weak. Oh my God.
No. I did a direct sales company.
Did that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, I know we've gone way over what we said we were going to, but
yeah.
I just want to share one thing. The turning point for me was I went to a women's business retreat and all of these ladies, there was 8 or 9 of us, and all of these women were sitting around, the first night at dinner, and they were talking about like what they did. And I was watching them and listening, and I was so enthralled with and so impressed with what they were doing and the gifts that they had. But then they started mirroring that back to me. And because I never thought that I could start a course or create a course or, who would want to, I don't know anything that people would want to pay me for. Because I have no, I've got a degree, but it's not in, like you talked about, psychology. I don't have any initials after my name, but you know what? I got 58 years of hard life lived, and I know that can help someone. And when they mirrored to me what I was seeing in them and telling me how great I was and my gifts and, how much I had to offer, I got excited. I was like,
April,
wow.
we're a lot alike. It's, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. Then you're in the wrong room. You're not learning, you're not growing. And I think growing up, that's what we want to achieve because we want to like show our wares of knowledge or whatever. Who cares? I'd much rather be challenged by people that are so far above me that I am uncomfortable, that I'm learning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And if you're not surrounded by people that are cheering you on and supporting you, and, telling you how great you are and, what you have, what great gifts you have, then you need to surround yourself with different people,
And that's hard to do. I think we will go, but I definitely want to have you on because that itself is a whole nother discussion. And I ran into another woman who was an unexpected friend that I came across, and we just keep sending each other these empowering little quotes. And I've never done that with a lot of my girlfriends. I mean, I love all of them. It's just that if your friends don't think you're the most exciting person in the room and want the best for you, that says something as well. People like you where you were originally, right here. And if you are trying to strive above that, and again, not my close friends, but typically, you're with the wrong group of people, because I know I would love to see everybody succeed. I don't care if you become a millionaire tomorrow. I'd be so thrilled.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause it's not that they don't want you to, it's not about you. It's about them.
Right.
Because you make them uncomfortable when you progress above where, because and if you're okay where you're at, that's okay.
Yeah.
But don't hold me back because
Correct.
you don't want to progress.
Right. But I can't wait to continue the conversation privately. And again, I'd love to have you on, because I think there's so many aspects to empowering women we could touch upon that I'd love to have you on again if you're open to that. But in the meantime, What's Her Superpower is her podcast. And I will share the website. And April, I can't thank you enough that you joined me today. And ironically, on your birthday, it's been a gift to me. So I thank you so very, very much for being on.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I've had such a good time. And, we were meant to be together, and I can't wait to have you on the podcast. And we will definitely have to do this again.
All right, friends, that's it for this episode of Class Reunion Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show, write us a review, and share this podcast with a friend. Until next time.